All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on this beautiful planet. Welcome to the Inner Circle Live pre-New York session. I'm your host for this morning's session, Benny Allen, along with my awesome partner, Mr. Rand Carthage. And we're definitely happy and grateful for each and every one of you being here with us this morning as we take a look at the technicals and the fundamentals to see what we could take advantage of in this Forex market as we look to close the week. So, without further ado, let's make sure that we turn off any and all distractions, grab a pen and paper, take lots of notes, and let's make sure that we participate and engage. If everybody can hear me loud and clear on this Friday and you're all ready to go, do me a huge favor, drop me a one in the chat and we can get this session off and running. All right, I see the ones coming in quickly. I appreciate the early participation. So let's make sure that we start out today taking massive action. Let's make sure that we are accepting all possible losses before entering a trade, preparing you for any outcome. Let's make sure that we center ourselves, right? Take that deep breath in body, mind, and spirit to ensure a balanced approach to trading. Let's trust in our education, strategy, trading skills, and intuition. And let's imagine our trades successfully materializing. Let's obey our trading strategy, avoiding decisions based on greed and fear. And let's make sure that we are never, ever looking back or stopping once our trades have commenced. So, hope everybody is ready to go on this Friday morning because we've got some decent price action, right? Going on in the markets. So let's click over to trading economics, and we can see right on the front page, Bank of Japan holds rates, sees higher inflation in 2024. Ryan, good morning, sir. How are you?
Bro, good morning, man. I'm excited. I got tons of energy this morning. Been on go mode for the past couple of days. So excited to be here, bro. How
Yeah,
about you?
me too. I'm excited to be here as well. So talk to me about this Bank of Japan, man. That inflation makes sense, right? Because a long time ago, right, we were talking about higher wages. That was an issue.
Yep. Yep. Higher wages and his tone was still dovish, right? The words that he chose in his statement or in the press conference were dovish. They do see inflation increasing. Um in 2024. They didn't fully change the projection, um, but they do see 2024 it being higher. So they do anticipate potentially changing that projection in the future to that 2.4, 2.6 range. Um, but for now, the bank is going to continue their buying at the pace that they are. Basically, he said everything from March still stands. That hasn't changed at all. Um, so they stood pat on where they were. But he did say that they see inflation moving into their target range sustainably. So they do see hikes later in the year. Um, he brought up wages and how it impact in the future, but he said where they stand right now as the wages increase. And there was a survey that was done and 70% of companies will be able to increase wages. It was like six, I believe it was 70%. Um, will be able to increase wages. So that average, we're talking about the large companies and the medium-sized companies and how that would all shake out. So the average came in um, around 3.94% when you average in all of the large companies, small companies together. There are pockets of smaller companies that aren't able to increase wages as much. But with that whole conversation, he mentioned um, that that part hasn't fully come into impact the market yet as far as those wage increases go. They don't see that fully coming, well, starting to come into play until later on in the year, which is when they plan on increasing again. He said if that changes, then they will increase, but they won't wait until the full impact of that to increase again. So that's how that played into the piece. Then when it comes to the week yen, because that was also part of the conversation, um, how does the weekend impact their decisions? And he said their monetary policy rate, um, he said it won't be dictated directly by a weekend. However, it can impact the economy, and the impacts on the economy could then cause them to make a change. Um, so that's the kind of the workaround on how it could get back to increase impacting the rate. Um, but he said that, but he said that um, impacting the rate. But what was there was another piece to that. Mm, 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 mm. I'm just trying to find this article real quick.
Okay.
Uh, he said, mm, 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 mm. Uh, the volatility over the long term could have a longer term impact on the economy,
Okay.
and that will then kind of impact the policy rate, and that's how it could be adjusted.
Got
And
it.
ultimately could ultimately end up pushing inflation higher. That's what it was.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah, but their buying is still the same. All those questions that I put in that blog post, basically he
Hmm.
was like, we're staying where we are at the moment. So, um, yeah, yeah. So his statements, I took it as relatively dovish, and it
Yeah.
looks like the market did too.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what I was about to say. I was about to back you up on that. Like, man, the market is supporting everything that you're saying. That is it the yen is getting trounced right now.
Murked, bro.
Yeah, it is getting beat up bad. Like, so we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's running in our favor to the upside on several pairs. Again, I think I guess it's over 2 years now.
Yeah,
We're just trading the yen to the upside. So if you ever had a buy and hold strategy when it came to currencies, like some people do with stocks, it's like hold the yen, right? And I mean hold currencies against the yen long. Because
hold them
that's
against the yen long.
yeah, because that's what it's been doing. It's amazing to watch it play out on the charts. I appreciate it, man. You're
Ain't no
doing a lot
doubt,
of
man.
work on the Bank of Japan, and how they're moving. So I appreciate it. Here we've got the estimation from Trading Economics is that the US PCE report is set to show sticky price pressures. So yeah, Fed holding rates. Yes, I think so. I think they're gonna continue that. I don't know about the three cuts. Maybe I'm definitely leaning towards one, but we'll see. Things can change. Uh-huh.
They're talking about the first one not coming until December now.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, at the end of the
Inverse
year.
about the first one not coming until December. So they're even removing September, October out of the conversation and looking at December as that first cut.
Man, oh man. Man,
Yeah,
oh man.
yeah.
All right.
Um,
Well,
we
shoot,
we could also see add this in
uh-huh.
right with that PC data if it does come in sticky. Back on the Japan piece, we could see an intervention. What that intervention looks like and the impact of it, that's going to be what's to be seen because of the downward pressure on the yen right now.
Hmm.
Uh, so we could see an intervention. There's a holiday on Monday and Friday of next week. So we could see it over the weekend, but it could also wait till the following week if they're going to do it. But the PCE data could give some additional insight in how that moves as well. If that comes in hot and you see a strong push to the upside, we could see the Bank of Japan step in today, um, as far as the intervention goes.
That's a really good point. because how high are they going to allow it to push? Because it's definitely a move up with a
Yeah,
high PCE
yeah.
report. So things continue to be sticky. It looks like my man Bostic was right. From
He was spot on, bro.
yeah,
He was spot
yeah,
on.
yeah. He was definitely spot on. But again, like they say, don't bet against the Fed, right? So they were never seeing the possibility of 6 rate cuts this year, like the market was trying to project. So we'll continue to keep an eye on things. That PCE report is going to be crucial. So let's look at the Forex factory real quick. We've got that is right at 8:30. And then we also today we've got the revised University of Michigan consumer sentiment too. So that's nothing to just glance over. We'll see how that comes out today. We had Swiss National Bank Chairman Jordan speak uh, at 4 a.m. Warm welcome. That's just the introduction. So price stability thanks to forward-looking monetary policy. So I will have to read up on that, man. I totally missed that one. So we'll see uh what Jordan had to say. And that is it. Right? That is it. So let's move on over, right? Check out Forex market. Let's go to the DXY, read about it a little bit. Dollar index steadied around 105.6 on Friday as investors stayed on the sidelines ahead of key inflation, U.S. inflation reading for March that could provide more clues on the path for Federal Reserve monetary policy. I think we already know. On Thursday, the index slid to near 2-week lows as data showed that the U.S. economy expanded an annualized 1.6% in Q1 2024, well below forecast of 2.5. That was a big miss on GDP. That like
Yeah, it
pretty
was.
much a full percentage point. That's a big miss. So we have to keep our eyes on that. And it's the lowest growth in about 2 years. Meanwhile, the same report showed that underlying inflation accelerated in the first quarter. So you got contracting GDP and increased inflation. That's not good. So while the latest job claims continue to point towards a tighter labor market, clouding the outlook for potential Fed cuts this year. So dollar nurse losses against most major currencies, but hovered near 34-year highs against the yen. Okay, so uh, that's pretty much spot on what we've been looking at here on the daily chart.
Bro, you
We're
know what
looking
else
at
came into conversation with that
uh-huh.
GDP number?
What's up?
The soft landing conversation came back up.
Oh yeah, whether or
And
not we could do it, right?
whether or not we can do it because of that data and inflation being what it is.
Yeah, yeah, because that's a bit. I think it was it because I know we had like I think yesterday it was a Google and Microsoft with their earnings because their investments in AI came
Yep.
through really strong. So I think I heard some people talk about that GDP, but I don't think it caught as much, as much wind as it should have. Like that was nothing to sneeze at, missing that growth number by a full percentage point.
Full percentage point
You
is big,
know,
man.
yeah, yeah. So it's down the road. Is we'll see what happens as a result. But yeah, I agree with you, man. That conversation did start to come back up yesterday. So hmm, it is interesting. But I know one thing: this market's gonna move in waves.
It's gonna move in
I
waves,
can,
dog.
I can always hang my hat on that. So we are looking to see where that dollar is gonna find support, right? So we had drew a little box here to say, hey, past resistance becoming future support. We're getting a pullback right now on the dollar, but that's just ahead of that PCE data coming out. So we'll see. We're right at 32%. If we come down to the 4, though, right, this is where we're sitting right on the 61.8 on this wave, you know? So this is so that last correction I was hoping, but we didn't. It just kept going straight up. But we could delete that. So this is where we're sitting at now. This is where we've got that level marked, but we might hold. we might hold depending on how this PCE data comes out. So that 105.30 level of support, and we're moving sideways just ahead of that data coming out at 8:30. So let's see what happens, right? But that's sitting at a critical level, 382 on a daily, and we're right at a 61.8 here on the 4. So let's see how it plays out. We might not move that deep on the correction. All right. Any questions on the dollar or the fundamentals? Jeremy, I read historically the Fed do not increase rates during an election year. Correct. That is Jeremy, right? Great job reading that. Drop Jeremy some sevens in the chat. Doing that research and that data. That is true, right? Because they don't want to seem like they're leaning politically in a particular direction, right? Because it can sway the election potentially. But he would say, right, that that's not what they're focused on. They're going to do whatever they have to do when they have to do it, to ensure price stability. Right? That would be the rhetoric that you probably would hear if he was asked that question, right? Jerome Powell. But we know that that does play into it, right? And so as we are headed towards a crazy uh a crazy election in November, we'll see how that plays out. So thanks for pointing that out, Jeremy. So maybe not raise rates, but maybe hold them, right? But that conversation about raising rates is creeping in there too. So in addition to what Ryan was talking about in regards to that soft landing, but a rate increase, Ryan, would definitely point towards a hard landing, indeed. So
And
we'll see.
there's
Mm-hmm.
still some there are a couple bank members and some investors saying that that's not completely off the table.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
It's not completely off the table.
No, they're trying to figure it out. They're trying to figure it all out. So yeah, it should be an interesting second half of the year for sure as we're in the second quarter. So that's the DXY. Any questions relating to the dollar?
No, sir.
No. All right. Good conversation. I mean, if any of you have like XM radio, make sure you mark Bloomberg as one of your favorites. It's a great channel to drive and listen to, you know, um to kind of figure out what's going on out there and what people are thinking. They bring on so many different, powerful and key people in the financial space throughout the day that you learn a lot. You learn a lot. So, all right. So let's dive into these charts. So, first thing I want to take a look at is this Aussie Swissy, right? So the yen plays, uh, the Swiss plays have been good plays, right? It's easy to see how they're trending. That's what we like, right? So on this 4 hour, we continue to push long on this Aussie Swiss. Okay. We continue to push long on this Aussie Swiss. So what we need on this path to the upside, we need a correction, right? So this is what I want everybody to keep their eye on as we move into next week. Can we get this correction down, find support in our buy zone, and then look to continue long? So quick and easy, that's that on the Aussie Swiss. Looking for a continued move long, but we need a correction at this point. Any questions on the Aussie Swiss?
No, sir.
All right. Moving on to the Aussie yen. Now this one, right, out of all these yen crosses, sometimes this was looking a little shaky because of how it would consolidate and then it would break out. But look at that move to the upside. So we're definitely continuing long. We're at 102.70, 102.75. And so right now we're looking for pullbacks and continuations as we head towards that daily target. Okay. As we head towards that daily target. We came in right at a 50% pullback on the daily, and we've been long ever since. It's been a choppy ride, right? That can give you a headache at times. but it has been long, right? The Aussie actually, right? Besides what was going on with the risk off situation, the Aussie data, right? Like we said, this one, you know, could be a tricky one. Um, but we can see here. So the Australian dollar appreciated towards 65, hitting its highest levels in nearly 2 weeks as stronger than expected domestic inflation data. There's that inflation word again, right? Bolster expectations that the Reserve Bank of Australia will not cut interest rates soon. So kind of similar, right? The market coming into the year is thinking one thing with rate cuts, and now they're starting to think something else. All right. The country's consumer price index fell to 3.6% in the first quarter from 4.1% in the previous quarter, slowing for the fifth straight quarter, but coming above forecast of 3.4. Australia's monthly CPI indicator also accelerated to 3.5% in March from 3.4%. Okay, that's inflation. February defined market expectations for no change. Earlier this week, data showed that private sector growth in Australia increased the most in 2 years during April as manufacturing activity approached the break-even level, while services activity remained expansionary for the third consecutive month. Externally, the Aussie benefited from the pullback in the dollar, right? 80-20, 1 hour. As U.S. businesses activity cooled in April, supporting a dovish outlook on the Federal Reserve. That's not going to hold, though, right? So taking a look at that Aussie yen, that play there, inflation continues to be a bit sticky. The yen, the BOJ is not pulling the trigger on any type of intervention. They just held rates. So we have to say until something shifts, we're looking to continue long. Does that make sense to everybody? Drop me a one in the chat if it does.
Yes, sir.
All right. So we just hit a 1 hour D extension, right? Very slight pullback to a 382. Then it took off. So we hit a D extension. So we should see this reset. Okay. We're going to eventually see this reset, possibly at the close of this hour. We should get a new fib. C becomes our new A, D becomes our new B whenever that high forms. So we'll look for pullbacks and continuation. So we'll track that going into the weekend as we approach that higher time frame D extension. So that is the Aussie yen. That's how the game goes, everybody. This is how it goes. So moving in on this Aussie NZD, this will stop me out. I was looking for a correction. Right, but the Aussie got that boost. The NZD not the strongest, right? But it just continued to push higher. We started to get the correction, right, here on this 4. We started to get it, came down quite a bit, right? But it held and then it U-turned. Fundamentals, right? Fundamentals over technicals. So it got back bullish on us. Me too, got kicked out. Yeah, but you know what though? Um, this one was crazy because it made such a good move down that look what when it reversed out, look at what it caused on your one, right? And I wasn't looking to play this off the one. I was looking for the further correction, but look what happened, right? So I was expecting this to continue down based on the 4 and take out this A and hit that 4 hour 382, but it didn't. But look at where look at where it made the U-turn. So that one got me, right? That one got me. As we always say, sometimes you're the bug and sometimes you're the windshield, right? So this one U-turn, but look at it still made a beautiful U-turn. So if you were playing 1 hour charts, you might have got long, but I didn't. I was looking at the 4 for the major move back to the downside with the Aussie. But the fundamental data supports it, right? Supports that move to the upside. So can't be mad at that one. Go ahead and lose my percent or whatever. But yeah, so we look for a continued long move on that one. So we missed it on the 4, but that 1 hour swing is nice to the upside. So we look for that to head towards the D extension. Any questions on the Aussie NZD? Looking pretty bullish.
No.
All right. So take a look at the Aussie dollar, being that we have PCE data at 8:30 that I know the entire market has their eye on. Continuing to right move, but we kind of had that drawn up before, but take that out now. So continue to move bullish off that level. But overall, right, we know that this has been moving down. Okay. This has been moving down. So we have the correction to the downside on the dollar. We've got some Aussie strength as a result of fundamental data. So that's moving up right now. Okay. So we'll see how far this wants to push. Okay. So we're right at the 61.8 ahead of the PCE data on the 4. So this one should be quite interesting. We'll see how that reacts, right? Do we start to see do we get a break and a move down from this level? And then we look for lower lows and lower highs and we say, hey, that dollar has found support and it's starting to move back up. Over the long term, I'm looking to short it, right? Because of the Fed holding rates, because of the data that we've seen come out. So I'm looking to get short on this 1 hour. That 80-20, right, has moved all the way up and taken out that 8 boundary, but we're right back at that level we had marked before. Okay. And so we see, right, just ahead of the data that we formed a high on this 1 hour and it started to move down. So the question is, depending on that PCE data, is this move that we see now to the downside, a slight move in that zone, is this just a slight pullback and a continuation, or is this going to be the beginning of a C to D push, right? And so higher time frames control the lower time frames. We've got a deeper pullback on the 4 to a 61.8. So naturally, right, we've taken out the A on this 1 hour fib to the downside, but that's okay, right? We're right back at a key level of resistance. Maybe this holds as a double top. So if I clear this out now, that that A has been taken out and we just look at the price action, right? Horizontally. So I'm going to take these lines out from that 80-20. That was a beautiful move off that level. What was that total? Off the swing, right? Oh, well, off that support, 179, 180 pips. Right? So over 100 pips. So it's fascinating how technically we come in at a key level just ahead of major data. Okay. So we're either going to hold and break down through this trend line and start making lower lows and lower highs, or we're going to push through and this resistance level gets retested as a buy zone, and then we continue to move long on this Aussie dollar. So I just think long term, eventually it's going to find a high price, and that dollar strength is going to kick back in. All right, that's what I'm thinking. So I'm holding off, but this is where we are. Any questions on the Aussie dollar?
No.
No,
No.
sir.
All right, moving on right to this CAD Swiss. Okay. So we called it as soon as the SMB cut rates, we're like, hey, like that Swissy's going to weaken, right? Outside of it acting as a safe haven, it should be weak, right? First out the gate, first central bank to cut rates. And so we have been moving long. There was that risk off correction with the Middle East drama. It's taking all of it back then and then some, right? So on that daily, that's technically a 50% retracement. Our 4 hour, right? Pulled all the way back, 86%. There's the 4 hour extension. Okay, that's what we can aim for. But what we need, if you're not involved in this move yet, you've got a potential 80-20 here. That's kind of just moving sideways. Our stochastic has moved all the way back to the buy zone. I need a correction. I'm looking for this to come down to look to get long. All right. I want to see a correction. So hopefully we get it prior to it hitting the D extension. If not, we look to reset after that. But I am looking to stay long against the Swiss franc unless some major drama pops off in the Middle East and everybody kind of packs it in and goes to cash, right? And starts and moves money into safe havens, things like that. So that's where we are. So I'm kind of at a wait and see mode with this cash Swiss. Any questions? Nope.
Oh,
All right. You guys making it easy on me today. So cat yen, dang, 932 pips and then some. Target hit. Fib on a daily is no longer highlighted, right? In it for the 80-20. Which one? The cash Swiss?
Yes.
Yeah. Those are there's I know there's a few, there's quite a few of them that's lining up like that, right? That are sitting at that high price. So yeah, I don't blame you for looking at that as a play. At some point, we're gonna see some relief, hopefully before we hit that extension, right? So that's all. There's always a play in that zone. So we'll see what happens. It's moving sideways, right? They're having that fight right now, the Bulls and the Bears, to see if they can push that price down. I needed to move down, right, for a discount. So let's cross our fingers and hope that that plays out on that cash Swiss 80-20 for sure. Frame it. You know what? I'm gonna take a screenshot right now. Bam. All right. We are good. All right. So took a picture of that. So hey, corrections and continuations, right? Until fundamentally something changes in the market or the BOJ decides to do something. So that D extension, and we talked about this, right? How that D extension was kind of falling right in the 80-20 zone on the 4. So we'll see. Now, we just had a fundamental occurrence last night with the BOJ deciding to hold rates. So anytime, anytime, right? We have that, we know, right, that investors can pile in on some things. So we want to be real careful when we hit an 80-20 zone, especially after fundamental data, right? So additional confirmations, things of that nature, because it has the potential to just keep running. We've seen that. Those of you who have been with us for quite some time, we know that when those fundamental events happen, that it can really push price for quite some time in one direction with hardly any corrections, right? So look at this mess here. All right. So we'll see if eventually it wants to pull back to retest that. So again, sometimes it pulls back to retest the lows after a huge wick like that. Sometimes it doesn't. If it doesn't and it continues to move and say hit that 115 extension, 115.92, then we just wait. We just wait for the next opportunity. But we want to make plays in our sweet spots, right? So unless you have some type of a buy limit set there, that's impossible to catch that quick move down and then back up. So that's the cat. Yeah, looking bullish. Hopefully we can get a correction on the lower time frames sooner than later. Any questions on the cat yet? No.
no.
No, those are if it woulda, coulda. Wow.
I know, right? It's all right. It's all right. It's always a new one just around the corner. Always a new one. So we'll catch one soon. UJ has that same candle, Joy. Yep, that's that reaction. Isn't that crazy? It's pattern driven. Pattern driven. So let's look at this one. Even this Swissy yen. I didn't, because I didn't know which way the BOJ was gonna go. There's a 1 hour play on here that I did not I laid off of it. And I was actually testing. I'll go to the 1 hour first. I was actually testing oh, this is reset now. So let me pull this out. I was actually testing my new little template on this for the breakout. And you can see here on this, well, this old one's no longer highlighted now, but if you look back here, you can see how choppy this was, but then it started to get momentum to the upside. It was right off that 200. It made a deep pullback right off that 200. Then we broke cloud. And once it broke that cloud, and you can see that 50 and that Tinkinson and Keatonson right underneath price, it took off. So this one I didn't play, but I drew it up. And you can see, right, even with the trend line break, how clean that was. So even on this Swiss yen, right, we're gonna look for pullbacks and continuations long. Right? The pressure just continues to mount on that yen. They decided to hold rates. Look at all these yen crosses. Right? Kind of messed up the beautiful price action in the sequence there, but that's okay. That's all right. So we'll we'll see what comes of it. You know, whether or not we continue or we correct. But I definitely want to see a correction and look to get long against the yen. Long against the yen. Trading is probability. I will take my chances on a nice correction and a continuation. Any questions on the Swiss yen?
But wouldn't you call that a correction that it already did it with the wick?
It did. It's just sometimes kind of like how last weekend during the ritual with those Swissy pairs and those yen pairs, how we drew those down trend lines, right? And we said, where was it? Where was it? Was like a lot of the switch crosses where it had that it wicked too. It had that strong move down, and we came out of the weekend. We drew those counter trend lines, and we said, you know what? It's either going to go back down and retest the lows, right? Meaning retest right the bottom of that wick and then continue, or it's going to continue straight up. And on every one of those, it broke trend line and just continued. It never revisited the lows. So technically, yes, we already have pretty much a 61.8 pullback, just shy of that. And now we're looking at a continuation long. But I tend not to like this here. The other ones, it was a little bit, this is just weird. That's all. Like I can't even draw a trend line on that for a break. This just went down, moved sideways, and then when there was no, I don't know, the price action is just different on that one. So it may just continue to move up. The definition of psych, yeah, that's the best way. You just put that a lot better than I did. So simple way, simple way to look at it, but it may respect that, right, and just continue to move long. But I'm not gonna play it after that. I'll just wait for the next setup if it chooses to move long to the extension. But to answer your question, yes, that is technically a correction within our AB boundary, a fast one, right? A fast one. So that is that. Oh, moving on. I want to take a look at this Euro Swissy play that we drew up and was able to post, right? Just continuing long, right? So here, like for example, this is exactly what I'm talking about, done that. So last weekend, right, we were saying that was that correction on that risk off move. And we drew our down trend lines and we said, hey, it's either going to retest the lows or it's going to break this trend line and continue. And you see it broke the trend line and continued. But you see how deep of a correction we got? Like it was sometimes it's just a timing. You know, how deep of a correction we got to where I could put an inner and an outer trend line on that price action. Right. So that was a lot cleaner. That previous move that we were just looking at, it kind of just dropped right here and then just continued up. It's weird. So a little bit different than this price action here that occurred last week on the with the switch crosses. So this is what I'm talking about there. How it never did. It just if this ended up being the low, and then it just continued from there. So on this Euro Swissy, right? Hey, we're moving sideways, right? So you were talking about that the CAD Swiss or whatnot. Look at the Euro Swiss, right? Pattern driven. Okay, pattern driven. They're all kind of sitting in the same zone on a lot of these. So look at how we're stalling out. When you say stalling out and pushing sideways, this is what we're talking about. Something's happening at this level. Somebody's got to win, right? So what we're looking for is the sell-off here, a breakout to the downside, and then a look for a continuation long on the Zero Swissy. Okay. So I'm definitely focused on this one because we know that euro hasn't been the strongest currency in the bag as people start to anticipate rate cuts coming in June. So if there's one that I'm hoping that we'll get that correction is definitely this one here. So we'll see if we can get the bottom to fall out of it. All right, we'll see what happens. That 830 data tends to impact currencies across the board. So we should see some movement with that PCE data. Now that I'm saying that, I'm hoping that it's not a dud in regards to price action, but typically we should see something coming off of that. So any questions on that Euro Swiss? It's a good setup both ways. Oh, good. All right. Let's look at this Euro GBP.
Side of the bed you woke up on, Ben. You going to Euro GBP?
Gotta peek in on it, right? You gotta peek in because I did observe that it made a strong move to the upside and then it just collapsed, which typically it does, right? Just weird. So here I'm gonna move this out. And so I'm watching this. So I'm gonna leave this like that there. Right. And I'm just keeping up because we've got a deep pullback and I'm just gonna let this sit. My 200 starting to creep up a bit. So I want to see what's gonna happen. What's gonna happen here? If we break out and we get above this 200 on the opposite side of that cloud, I might even take a shot long, but I don't know yet. So I'm just watching this. This is a beautiful 80-20 now. Right? Got to get a Euro GBP credit for that. That played out. That you said you might jump in with me too. Yeah, if we can get some momentum going, I don't know fundamentally. I don't know what's gonna make that happen. I don't know, but if it does, this pair is so weird, right? There's so many similarities that it tends to just be all over the place. But if we if we get that, got emojis going now. If we get that, then I might take a shot on it. If all that plays out, but we'll see. We'll see. That's not the top one on my list. I just wanted to take a look at that. Uh what else did I have on here? Euro USD. We'll take a look at that as well after we take a look at this Euro Yen. Since yen the BOJ made all the news overnight. We'll continue that narrative, right? So this is just beautiful price action, right? And this is a weekly chart, 61.8. Pull back, and it's gone. Right? It's just been moving up. Fascinating. That's off of 236. Don't know if we're gonna get there, get deeper than that. That's just running. It is what it is. So we trade what we see. We're about to come into a sub-fib extension on this daily time frame, though. So we'll see. Look at that push. Look at that push, right? So we're looking for corrections like this, right? Corrections and continuations. That was a 540 pip move or so, right? That's why we like deep corrections. Now, oftentimes online, social media, you will hear the exact opposite, right? Once it gets below that 61.8, it's pretty much gone. Not really, right? Not really. We love those deep discounts. It automatically gives us a favorable risk to reward, and it could lead to huge moves to the upside. So we need a correction. Right? We need a correction there. And then we can look to move back down, right? So there's that price action, right? That we've been seeing across the board. So we got a 382 in a continuation that's going to hit that D extension. That's gonna hit that D extension. So that's where we are on that. Euro NZD. Jump in and take a look. This one I think is yeah, this one's ranging, right? But we're starting to get some price action back to the upside. So that zone we drew up as a possible buy zone that held, but then we've been kind of moving sideways ever since. Right? Ever since. So we just look at it in the largest, the larger play. It's been a mess, right? I will admit that. But we're still within our AB boundary. We're still moving. So, but we're just ranging. So we need a breakout, preferably to the upside on that. So still making progress, just moving sideways right now. So if you're in that, that's just one that you just say, you know what? I'm just gonna let it do it. I'm gonna let it do its thing. Gonna let it do its thing. So we can see here, look at this, how we've got now. This was that last move. See that? As long as it doesn't take out the A, it has no choice but to go your way. Look at the swing. So now, as choppy as this has been, we got 50% on that, right? We got a 50% correction. And now, like I said, this is just zooming in. I could take that out now. That was that last D extension. We're just zooming in and we're seeing now that this is a tightly wound range. Okay. So somebody's got to win out. We want to see it win out to the upside. Right now, it's having a good day, right? It's having a good day so far today to the upside. So that's the Euro NZD. Moving on to the Euro dollar. Isn't it cool how you could just set your charts up and just let the trades fall into your lap? I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't know about you guys, but it's cool. It's cool to me. Right? And you just set it up and let it run. All right. It's kind of like set it and forget it. What was that? It used to be a cooking machine where the guy used to say that all the time on TV. Right? Set it and forget it. All right. So here we are. Continuing, right? Dollar correction continues. Euro dollar's pushing up. Mirror image of the DXY, right? So we want to see a high price. We want to see a high price. Okay? We can see this is just moving, right? A little chart on. Look at that swing. Okay? So we're moving pretty high, kind of like that Aussie dollar did, right? On the 1 hour, where we're getting a deeper correction on the 4, and we're just about trying to take out that A on the 1 because of the deeper correction. But still, overall, when you look at the bigger picture, this is still downtrending. We're in a correction phase right now. Okay? We're in a correction phase. So let's see what happens with the news at 8:30. Any questions on the euro dollar?
Yeah, Benny.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, looking at the 1 hour and considering that the price was not in a zone on this one. However, the price being above the cloud, would you still take it?
If you're using the cloud, so if you're using the cloud, then you use your cloud confirmations, right? So you wait for the break, right? So here, if I put let's put that back on. We'll just put a regular cloud on, right? So if I'm trading this cloud, the cloud is designed to act as a confirmation to get you the bulk of the move, right? So I'm not going to take this now. I'm going to take this here off this 1 hour, right? I need a break of that cloud. And then some people wait for the cloud, wait for a pullback to retest that cloud, right? So, and by that time, you should be able to look ahead and you should see that cloud being bearish, right? Meaning changing color. And in this case, it should be red, like here, right? So if you're using cloud confirmations, see what helps you to stay out of trouble, like somewhere like here, and all of that bouncing around there, see that break? And you're like, well, Benny, it broke the cloud here. Well, it's not at my level. You see how we can combine the two for confirmations? It's not at a level that I like to trade necessarily. So I wouldn't have been in that trade, right? To catch that pullback. Okay. But now I'm in my zone, right? So I would really stick to my zones, right? Which the Fib, smart Fib makes it really simple for us because it highlights it, my sell zone. And then I would look for cloud breaks after that to move down. And that's how I would trade that on a move back down. Make sense?
Yep.
Yes, thank
Yep. You're welcome. Like you see how this like look here. Prime example. Right? I didn't want that. So prime example here. Uh-oh. Charts. All right. Okay, how this broke back down through the cloud eventually. See how that turned over and moved? That's what you want to see. You want to see this cloud. You want to see this cloud break. Right? You want to see that cloud break down. Is what you want to see if you're using the cloud. So other than that, it's just gonna keep running. You know, so it just depends on your strategy. Some people sit on the chart, and they will literally just wait for cloud breaks. How they trade the cloud, right? We broke cloud. Like I'm long, and then they're gonna get short if it breaks down below the cloud, right? So just depends on your strategy, but I tend to still use the fibs, right? So two confirmation tools, your fibs and your cloud there. Right. So we'll see what happens with that. Do you get false breaks? Yeah, you do. You had one there, right? And it pushed higher. Okay, so that's the Euro USD. What time we got? 7:27. There are pound Swissy. All right. So pound Swiss. All right. So we are just continuing. Look at this on a daily, right? Okay. It's a beautiful move out of our zone. Buy zone again, right? That's why we like it. 4 hour, right? So huge move. We have it drawn up here for 495. Okay. Take a while to get there. Beautiful move. Now, right? The market moves in waves. So what I want to see is that pullback. Right? So you can come here and see how we have this going, how we have this running. Fib John, but okay. So here's that pullback that we need. Okay. You said it gets a few times me setting my orders before price hitting the sweet spot. I'm getting taken out.
Well, what I was doing was I'll see my fib and I'll set my order and like, hey, set it and forget it. But I was not thinking to put the cloud up with it to see if where it is before putting those orders on the 618 and the 50 and the 20 going back down. And I can do that on the break instead of price going up and it's hitting it then waiting for it to come back down.
Yeah, you can do that. You know, if you want to use that cloud as confirmation, you know, because you're already.
It worked a few times. I'm like, okay, bet. But then it didn't work no more.
Yeah, sometimes if you need that extra visual, that extra confirmation, you know, because you already know you're trading in a high probability zone. If you can add anything additional to it, that that can really enhance your results. So you just keep at it, man. You keep tinkering with different stuff, adjusting certain things until you find a sweet spot for yourself and what you feel comfortable with. That's what that journey is all about. So kudos to you for continuing to work to figure things out. Everybody's brain is different, and what we need for confirmation is different for all of us. So, yep, keep working. So this pound Swissy, right? Longer play 4 hour. So you see how we're all kind of in that similar situation. New AB boundaries or when 80-20 zones, it all adds up to the same. We need corrections and continuations, right? So that's one we'll be looking for next week to see if we could get that pullback on the pound Swiss. Pound yen, we know that's moving like gangbusters. This pound NZD, though, is one that we want to take a look at to see, right? So we had this drawn up. We want to see this continuation. We got a decent pullback. And now, right, see how we pass resistance becoming future support. We're trying to push to a higher high and just continue with this move. So if we come to the 1 hour chart, right, we can see with the cloud, you can see how that's broken above, right? The sub-fib. And now we're trying to get long. We're trying to move it long. So we'll see. Let's see what happens with the data. And we'll see if we can continue long on that. It'll be interesting to see what happens after 8:30 with the pound pairs and then just the market overall. So this is a retest of the cloud, and we want to see it continue to push up. But we know fundamentals over technicals, and so we'll see what that reaction is with the news coming out. All right. And then the last one is again just homing in on these Swissy pairs, this NZD Swiss. Right. Right. Wanting to see that correction, right? So again, drew that trend line coming out of last week. We got the break. Now we're looking at corrections. Okay. We're moving down out of that zone. Okay. So that's one there. That's on the move, moving down. We'll see what happens. Again, be cautious. We've got data at 8:30. That's pretty important. But you can see how this is another Swiss pair that's in that 80-20 zone and is trying to move out of that zone to the downside. All right. Ryan, anything before we wrap it up, sir?
No, bro. Great session, man. Continue to be patient, good people. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the process.
All right. All right. Hey, everybody, enjoy the rest of your Friday. All right. And always remember, don't just count your pips, count your blessings. We'll see you guys tomorrow, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Forex Weekly Ritual. Have a great day, everybody.